I was born in McLeod, Kansas, 12 noon, May the 29th, 1930. No one was with my mother except her sister. And I, as a baby, was, um, I weighed 10 pounds and was breech. There were 6 of us. I had 4 brothers and 1 sister. When I was a child, um, my dad was a dirt farmer. He didn't have, he had to do all the work with the team of horses.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in my life, Mom had to go take care of an elderly lady, and she had to take me with her because there was no one at home. But I was so glad when we went home from there. But, in the 30s, people did whatever there was to do.
Right.
My dad, I don't know, he worked in a restaurant for a while, because he used to tell me about 12 o'clock at night, midnight, guys that were working the night shift where, maybe Topeka or Lawrence, we were right in the middle. And I can remember he would be gone all week.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he'd come home with $1 or sometimes be $3. I mean, it was really bad. I graduated from high school in Perry.
Mm.
That is north of Topeka on Route 24 highway.
So did you guys move, or?
Oh, did we move, honey? We moved. They used to kid my dad. They said, Eber, you must move every time your rent comes due. I don't know why we moved so often. But the first place that I have any memories of, we called the shanty. There was 8 of us, 6 kids and Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was 2 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I have no idea how we did it. At night we would all get out in the yard because it was so hot. We had no electricity, no fans, no nothing. And my dad, I don't know what his thing was, but he always came in and swept the yard. Didn't want sticks and stuff in there. And we'd get out there after supper, and my brother would play the guitar. A couple of my other brothers would play the harmonica, and we'd all sing, and oh, that was just so much fun. Just so much fun.
That is fun.
And everybody could sing. My folks had beautiful voices. And then another one is, at supper time, Mom would give the boys a boiler. They was to go out and get that completely full of roasting ears. And my sister and I would take the dish pan, and we'd go in the garden and we'd get that thing rounded up with tomatoes. And that's what we'd have for supper. I mean, homemade bread and butter and
tomatoes and
ask
corn.
for more.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
Most amazing woman I think I've ever met. My brother said when she passed away, he said, people look at us so funny when we say she was our angel. An orphan. She was 14 when her and my dad got married. He said he was the black sheep of the family, and why, I don't know. He was the smartest one, that's for sure. And she was never happy in foster homes because people in that time, foster kids, all they wanted out of them was work. So he rented a little house in Perry. He bought himself a cow and a pig they were going to fatten out to butcher. And they put in a garden that summer. They were just, all ready. And like I said, she was 14, he was 19, but she learned how to bake bread. She learned how to, if you give her your measurements, she'd take those measurements and cut it out of a newspaper and make you whatever. But I never knew we were poor. We just had so much fun. Uh, I got a job working at the local restaurant there, and I would go up and help serve breakfast, and then I'd run all the way to school, and the bell would ring just as I got in the door.
Right.
Then I'd run down at noon and help him through lunch and back to school. And at night I would go there and they would just let me do my homework when there wasn't anybody in
Right.
there and everything. Due to the second semester of high school, Mom and Dad moved down towards Kansas City. And I didn't want to move because I didn't want to
You had to keep
take forward just a semester away from my senior year, you know.
Right.
So Dad, he checked around. He found me a room, really nice room, for $5 a month. Took civil service test,
Ah.
and I passed it. And I got a job right off the bat at Shawnee County Welfare Office. That's Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I had met my husband a couple of years before that.
Oh, really?
And we had kind of, every summer, every weekend, I would go to one of my brother's houses. One of them lived in Topeka. My sister lived out here, and I would come and stay with her a lot. And she was almost like a second mother to me.
Right.
And so I met him down here. And we got married in December of that year. I graduated from high school, turned 18, and got married when I was 18 years old.
Oh.
We were married in December, I think it was March. Then I got pregnant with our first one, and we were so excited. And my husband's uncle raised him, and he was living here in Manhattan. And he just wore us thin, wanting us to come back here.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally we did. We came back here.
How many children do you have?
I had 7. I have 6
Oh.
living.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So were they all born here in Manhattan then?
The oldest girl was born in Lawrence. The youngest girl was born in Abilene. But the 5 boys were all born here in Manhattan. In fact, my oldest son and my third son, I had the same room. Well, we lived here until Uncle Bill passed away. One of my brothers was working at the Lone Star cement plant in Bonner Springs.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted us to move down there closer to them. My husband had gotten into the union, and they went on strike. That meant no paycheck coming in
Right.
from nowhere. You know,
Uh-huh.
you didn't go apply for unemployment or anything.
Right, you just had to hold out.
But when he was still active in the union, he would come by this little fruit stand every night, and he'd stop in and talk to this old man. And the guy would give him, like, I don't know what they call it, a lug of peaches or apricots or cherries or whatever. He said, now these I'm going to have to pitch because I can't sell them
Right.
tomorrow. So he'd bring them home and I'd count them up. And, oh, he got a job with the big heavy equipment company, and it was in Harrington. And I was just going to stay where I was, and he would come home on weekends. Well, they decided they had to work 7 days a week. So he found us an apartment, and we moved to Chapman, and that's when Dana was born in Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved back to Manhattan. They all graduated Manhattan High.
And then did they go to K-State?
Denise and Dana went to K-State. Dwayne tried, but Dwayne is a professional guitar player.
Oh, really?
And he was with Bob Seger for 4 years.
Wow.
And then he was he went from there to Chicago, the group Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And he
Okay.
was lead guitar there for almost 10 years. Right now, he got burnt out. The highway was eating him up, he said.
Uh-huh.
So he's writing, and if they have somebody doing a recording and they need a guitar player, he'll go in and then he call it studio work.
Wow. So when did Max die?
Max died in 1993. Congested heart failure. That man, if we needed something and didn't have the money for it, he would dig ditches or whatever to get it for us, you know? He'd do anything as long as it was a job and money was coming in. He drove cab. When the boys were all in high school and the girls were like kindergarten and first grade, he would drive truck all day. He would get out of the truck at 5 o'clock, get into the car, go right to the cab stand. And he would work until he had enough money for the kids to eat lunch at school the next day. And I remember one time, there just wasn't any passengers. So he borrowed $5 from one of the other cab drivers. And he brought us home a box of, it had a hamburger and buns and oranges. He wasn't much buying the kids candy or pop. And they didn't miss it, you know. And I said, well, do you have time for me to make you a sandwich? He said, no. He said, just get the kids fed. He said, I'll be all right. But you know, he's always doing things like that. One night he come home 4 o'clock in the morning and brought this pizza home that he said it smelled so good. He didn't like pizza, but it smelled so good, so we all got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and had pizza.
So you worked at the union.
I was there for 13 years.
So after he died, did you just continue working there and stay?
I was still working there when he passed away, yeah.
What did you do there?
I worked in the vault room. Tilda Swinson and I were the only 2 people in there. And she did, like, yesterday's sales. And I did, we were locked in, so I had to do the window. And it seemed like when I retired, everything went bad. I had back surgery, I had cataract surgery, 2 different times on this leg, knee surgery.
Oh, goodness.
And it just seemed like it just one from the other, and I finally wound up right here.
How would you describe yourself, Edie? What kind of things are important to you?
Well, I'm a country music addict. I love it. And as you can see, I have my share. I love to do puzzles. I collect teddy bears. I try to be a very loving, caring person. You almost have to be here, you know. I have one regret in my life. I was kind of hard on my kids. Every one of my kids was in a band.
Oh, really?
When they were in high school.
Uh-huh.
I had this huge living room. It's probably wider than this and longer. I had two divans and, just gobs of stuff. Well, we let Daryl set his drum set up. And 2 or 3 of the other kids had bass guitars, and Dwayne was lead guitar, Danny was lead guitar and bass. And the kids would come and they would practice until midnight, I swear. They didn't have to worry about anybody jumping on them and telling them, because we were far enough away that we didn't bother anybody. They couldn't pour concrete in the daytime. It was too hot. And so they would work late, you know, in the evening. They'd start out about 6 or 7, and then they'd go until midnight or after. So we would sit out on the big porch.
Mm-hmm.
I had it all fixed up out there. We didn't have air conditioning. And I had a bed out there and had two beds out there. And it had a ledge all the way around it. And I had every inch of that ledge full of houseplants. I had them hanging everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so, when it rained, it very seldom ever rained at night. So we slept out there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd sit out there and we knew Daddy's truck number. And we'd watch whenever he'd go by with the load of concrete. He'd always honk. And then we came back and we'd sit out there and sing. And I would play the guitar. I taught Danny how to play. I taught them all how to play, and they just walked off and left me.
Ah! Yeah, you gave him quite a gift then.
Music has just been one of our things. You know,
That is, that's great.
Kind of down and just not having a great day, and I can put one of those on, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you feel
that's
a lot
it.
better.
You know,
That's good.
hymns and gospel and country. Any of that just
Mm-hmm.
really builds me up.
Do you have grandchildren?
Pardon?
Do you have grandchildren?
Oh, I have 9, I believe. And I have, there's 6 great grandkids.
Oh, wow.
And this summer I got a great granddaughter.
Holy cow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm hoping against hope that we all get together before I told him, I said, now you've got 20 years to think about this because I'm going to live to be 100.